Hey guys, it's Mrs. Pickett. Back at you with another flipped video, and today we're going to talk all about how we can use estimation to help us figure out the sums and differences of problems, to help us really do that mental math that we talked about in our last video. So let's just jump right in, and I'm going to give you guys a chart, and in that chart we're going to have data that is we're collecting canned goods for dogs for a dog shelter. And each week we collect a certain amount of pounds of dog food. So in my first column I have weeks, and the second column is how many pounds we actually raised that week in our dog shelter. So the first week we had 172.3. Week 2 we had 298. Week 3, 237 and 5/10. Week 4, 345, 1/10, and week 5 we had 338 pounds. Okay? So when you first look at this chart, you're going to want to think about, well, how can we make this a little bit easier for us to do a little bit of mental math? So we're going to estimate how much was sold, or how much was gathered in week 2 and week 3. So instead of estimating to the nearest tenth or the nearest tens or the nearest ones place, we're actually going to estimate all the way to the nearest hundreds place, because that's going to make it really pretty quick for us to add. So if I was going to do all of these, 172 and 3/10 is going to estimate to 200, because I know that 72 would round up. 298 is going to estimate to 300. 237 and 5/10 is going to go down to 200, because 37 is less than 50. I have 345 that's going to estimate again down, and 338, which we're going to estimate to 300. So now I'm going to combine that 300 and that 200 to get a total of 500. So I would say that in weeks 2 and 3 we raised about 500 pounds of dog food. Okay? So now if you were going to think back, or you were going to actually add, and you were going to add the actual amount, we would take 298 plus 237 and 5/10. And so instead of adding that, you really just want to say, okay, was my estimation pretty close to my actual answer? And in this situation, we would say yes. Our actual answer is going to be a little bit more than than the 500. Okay, so using that same method that we just did, let's look at weeks 3 and 4. So I would estimate week 3 to 200 and week 4 to 300 to get myself a total of 500. Now in this situation we would say that our actual answer would be greater than 500, because if you notice we took each number and we estimated to the lower hundred. So 237 estimated to 200 and 345 estimated to 300, which is both of those numbers are lower than your actual number that you would have added. Okay, so hopefully that's not too confusing. So when we just solved that problem, we were using rounding to solve. Another way that we can estimate is using compatible numbers. And when we use compatible numbers, we are actually just going to the nearest number that is easy to combine. So think about this as, well, when I look at 237, can I get that to a number that would be easy to combine? For example, I could take 237 and round that up to 250. So think about what we did with our mental math in class. And then we're going to take 345 and we're going to also bounce that to 350. Okay, because I know that 37 is pretty close to 50, and I know that 345 is also pretty close to 50. So going to the 50 is another way that I can estimate the answer. So then I would go ahead and add that would give me a total of 600. Now in this situation, using the compatible numbers is going to be a little bit more accurate because 37 and 45 are closer to the 50s than they are to the 200 and the 300. So in both situations, when we use estimation, you can either round to the nearest hundreds like we did in the first example, or you can use compatible numbers. But either way, what you're really doing here is finding a way to make mental math work for you so that you can solve these problems really quickly. Okay, so with this problem here, we're going to use both examples again, and we're going to round. We're also going to use compatible numbers, and we're going to kind of do the same thing we just did to see which one makes more sense in this situation. So again, we're going to estimate the answer. So let's round first to the nearest hundreds, which would take 338 to 300, and it would take 172.3 to 200, which would give me a total of 500, right? Now using compatible numbers, 338 is going to go to 350, and 172.3 is going to round to 200, would be my closest 50, right? So then, or I actually could even take that 172 to, let's take that to 175 instead. So let's do 175 because that's way closer, right? So then let's add, we're going to get 3 plus 2 is 5, 525. So in this situation, they're pretty similar, but I would say that 525 again is going to be a little bit closer to our actual answer. So what you're hearing me say is either rounding or compatible numbers are going to be good ways to estimate, whereas I feel like compatible numbers gets us a little bit closer to that accurate answer. All right, guys, thanks again for watching. And remember, just as always, we're going to keep practicing this and working on this in class. So if this is something that you're not really totally understanding, don't feel any pressure to really totally get it right away. So your question or your joke for today is, how do you make a tissue dance? See you later. Bye.